Years ago, when I used to go up to talk radio on the train, I used to go up at 10:30 in the morning, and there was a pub by the station, because there always is one. And I noticed the first morning I did it that there was a little old boy. He was sat in the window of the pub. This is 10:30 in the morning, and he had half a stout, and he was reading his Daily Mirror. And the next morning I went past, again 10:30 in the morning. He sat there still, and because I went past Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and every morning he was sat there. And eventually we got on nodding terms, you know, like you do, because he noticed that I was going for the 10:42, and so he just give me a little nod. And then gradually I noticed that he was looking at the racing page, so I'd go, no, you want in the 2:30, and he'd go, no, like that. Anyway, the reason I mention it is because I think for blokes, there's no few greater senses of freedom than that you get from being in a pub when everybody else is either at work or going to work or coming from it. And there's a bunch of us here now sat in a very nice pub down on the south coast, and it's Richard and Matt and Mark. Well done, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was captivated by your performance then, because many people won't know, listening to this, that in fact was improvised. I mean, you were doing
and in fact the old bloke was you.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Okay, no, that's unkind. I mean, I was trying to respond there, but you've heard me.
Yes, okay, excellent.
I hope you're proud of yourself. Sarcasm being the lowest form of wit.
I think it's not, because it's actually what Basil Fawlty uses most and brilliantly in Fawlty Towers.
When was Fawlty Towers made?
But it's perennial. I mean, I still watch it, and now I can do the whole dialogue of virtually. It's tragic, like most men. I think I can do virtually the whole. Give me a line from Fawlty Towers. Go on, Richard. Any line from Fawlty Towers.
On
Anybody.
Those trays.
Well, I can do the whole routine. What? No.
On those trays.
Okay. Yes. No, Senor Fawlty. Not on those trays. Uno, dos, tres. Of course, that one's easy. What I wanted to ask you about a little bit was, first of all, this, guys. What sort of underpants are you wearing?
Yeah, now I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I like being honest, and I think actually they're from Mark's, because
It's
Mark's.
certainly not mine, Richard. I can show you.
No, not Mark's pants.
No, Mark. Hi, Mark. That was an eerie moment for you, wasn't it?
That what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, that could have been really good, but it wasn't. Marks and Spencer, actually, they last for years. These are circa 1957, 58, something like that. They've lasted a long
There's a
time.
reason I ask, and the reason is...
What washing powder do you use, sorry, that keeps the mind
This is Matt.
deteriorating
Dear
the
Matt.
machine after 6 months?
Well, I'm very much in favour of the liquid detergent now.
Right.
I tell you what, it's much more gentle on your smalls.
There is a reason I ask. It's because I'm on my second pint now, and I had to go to the loo with my first pint about 5 minutes ago, and for reasons too tedious to detain you with, unusually, I'm wearing boxer shorts. Now, I'm a Y-front man for the support. Ooh. This is not because I'm huge, it's just that I like the support.
Do you know that you have struck a chord with me?
You're the same?
Yes. I
boxer shorts.
wouldn't actually win a gold in the Olympic genitals event, you understand. But it's just that, well, to be honest, guys, it's chafing. Chafing is
What,
is
skin
my
against
enemy.
scrotum?
Yes, being a circumcised man, I find...
You're a Jew?
No, I'm not a Jew, actually, but nevertheless circumcised. My mother, in her infinite wisdom, decided to have that little bit of extra flesh amputated.
They never
It was
ask
a
you...
sad day when my
Yeah.
father walked up.
They never ask if you want to keep it. Like the placenta, the women sometimes now
I've got it
cook...
framed at home.
You haven't, though?
No, of course
No,
not.
of course not.
I lied.
Now, what I've learned today...
That's part of dominating the conversation at a pub, is lying.
Absolutely. The reason I mention it is because I've learned something today from the wee that I had about 10 minutes ago, right? You know, you have a wee, all men know this, so we should talk about it. Well, you have a wee, and then for some reason, there's a little bit more left.
Yep.
So you shake, and you get a couple of drips, okay? And I know, because I'm a lifelong Y-front, supported genital and what have you, man.
Let's be
that-
honest, come on, let's cut to the chase. After the deed, where do you put it in boxes?
Well,
Where do you put it?
This is where I'm going.
And you see, look, I'm wearing light trousers.
Yeah.
Do you know my biggest fear this afternoon is actually having some little map of Tasmania because I've had a slight malfunction.
You've come too soon. To that
In
point.
a manner of speaking, yeah.
Because what I've learned is this. All my years, decades, I've been shaking the drips, and you know exactly when you've got the last drip, because you don't want an extra drip once you put it away and zip up, do you?
No.
And with the Y fronts, it's clear to me now that the element of additional support that you get means that the extra drip, which is there waiting to come, doesn't. But because I'm wearing boxers, you see, I turned away from the urinal, having shaken and dripped my last, zipped up, and I'm coming down the stairs when I realise that I have done just what you, wearing your light trousers, Richard, feared, an extra drip.
Could I recommend something? Now, me, I'm not a shaker, I'm more a puller.
How does
Yes,
that
the
work?
toothpaste technique.
Yeah, that's
Hold
right.
at the base,
There we
squeeze
are.
and pull.
There we are, how nice to
They
be
don't,
honest with
but
you
you
now.
see, the thing is, these are the important things that nobody teaches you. Did your dad teach you how to shake and go?
No, but I don't shake and go, I pull and
You
go.
pull and go.
It's
I
the
remember I used to
toothpaste
work with a
technique,
bloke
you see.
called Scott Chisholm. And Scott Chisholm is one of the most huge human beings.
Who?
He's called Scott Chisholm. He's
Scott Chisholm.
Scott Chisholm.
Scott Chisholm.
Scott Chisholm. And he's about 24 stone.
See, I'm being from Scotland.
Scotchism.
I'm suffering from Scotchism.
Scott used to talk like that, so he certainly wasn't a Scot in any circumstances. And I was saying to him one day, I was talking like this about how you hold your fella when you're having a wee. How do you hold yours? Because we all have a way of holding ourselves as we aim it.
See, now
At the moment, I'm doing it with two hands.
I'm
I do it
imagining
with
what-
one hand. I do it with the right hand, and my grip is with the thumb on the top, I realise, and the index finger crooked underneath.
Oh my God, no wonder we're compatible. Because
Yeah, are you the
that's-
same?
Have you been watching?
Yeah,
No. And what about you, Mark?
It's a fulcrum grip, similar.
a fulcrum grip.
Yeah. Well, I was a drummer. I kind of,
So you actually do
I
hold
like to
it
think I
like
have a
it.
little bit more girth than
Now,
the
which
drums.
came first then? The way you hold it.
You don't need to do several bars. This is why you're always a happy person.
Always syncopated, absolutely.
And Matt, how do you hold when you have a wee?
honestly, I'm.
Got to stop and think about it. Use this biro. No insult
But
intended.
is there any other way to hold it?
Well, we all hold it
Then-
evidently slightly differently.
I mean, do some people stand there with pinching at either side?
No, some people hold it.
No, but
I think the
actually,
question
it's
is, how do you hold it when you're drunk?
Oh, you
Same
don't.
way, same
you
way.
Lean, you lean back with your arms behind your head like
That's right. What alarms me is Matt has actually demonstrated the thumb and four-fingered approach. And to be honest, I only need an index finger and a thumb.
Exactly.
I'm worried.
The conversation in the pub was got round to Scott because all the men were saying things like, "Well, in my case, the index finger and the thumb." And the bloke before Scott said, "Well," he said, "Curious enough, he said, I hold it like a pen." You know how?
What?
Yeah. So he held his as he was having a wee, he would hold it and point it at the enamel as if it was a pen. Just do it in your mind. And then it got round to Scott. And they said to Scott, "God, Scott, how do you hold it?" And he stood up to his full. He's about 8 feet wide, and he just got both hands down there and just went like a fucking telegraph pole. And in his case, dear Scott, a great bloke.
Why is it, by the way,
yes?
when we're in the gents? Well, because I'm assuming that you're the same as me. I can't resist, and I happen to be a straight man. I'm ashamed of it because I seem to be in the minority. I'm sort of straight.
Anyway,
That you're drawn to looking at the guy's willy next to you. Do you find that?
no,
No.
I have to
No.
say no.
no. Richard, go on.
Right. Have you found that you're not drawn to the man's willy next to you? Because I said
Welcome to Freud's Hour with Richard Cartridge.
Currently, Richard.
When you walk into the urinal and there's three.
Oh, come on, be honest. Of course you are. You're curious, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I've
I'm
never.
always next to the guy who's hung like a donkey.
That's why you should never look. It's
No, I
only
know,
going to
it's
hurt
so
in the long run.
demoralising.
Why do you want to see what another man's penis looks
I
like?
don't really. I just, curious.
Were you one of these football players at school who was asked to shower? Never actually played on the field, but just asked to shower just to boost the team's morale.
Was that you?
No, I don't think it was me.
I can imagine the curiosity when you're young, 5, 6, 7 years old. I remember a friend of mine called Jason, whenever he went for a wee, he used to have a lump protrude off the top of his penis, and I have absolutely no idea to this day why, but apparently it was perfectly normal, and he's not the only person that gets it.
We used to have a chap at school, perhaps we can get on to our school memories, who, when you think the horrendous things that happened that we used to take as quite normal, for entertainment and actually for a few bob, he would get out his willy, put it on a desk with the lid up, and slam the lid down on it.
What?
Painful.
The golfer.
I just wonder what happened to it.
The golfer John Daly. We've all heard of the wild thing. He really is a strange man. And I read this report in Golf Monthly. He'd come over to this country for one of those.
Golf Monthly. You take Golf Monthly.
It was in the dentist's, and
Nicely covered there, Tom.
and he's over here to do one of those celebrity things that he does from time to time. So he's paid £20,000 to turn up at a golf course and play around a golf with the locals. And on the car drive to the hotel after he'd done this, he asked the kid who'd been caddying for him to give him the card. And the kid gave him the card, and he rubbed out his score and reduced his actual score from 76 to 68. And gave it back to the kid, and he said, "There we are." He said, "That's just to make sure that they don't think that I've been fucking around." Okay? And then, and the guy's driving along, and this was in the piece, and then he opened his fly and took out this magnificent milk bottle, if you go back that far, sized appendage, took it right out of his
That
trousers,
can't be
like an elephant's trunk,
No.
and said to the kid, the boy, the man, who'd been looking after him all day, "What do you think of that?" with no kind of prompting on it. The conversation hadn't been about anything to do with that. He fiddled his score, said, "That's because I don't want them thinking I'm fucking about," and then went zip, whum, and this kind of third leg appeared. And he said, "What do you think of that?"
Can I ask you all, would it have changed us as men now, have we had a different size appendage? You know, would it make you more confident? Would you want to show people like this golfer?
No and no for me.
Who hasn't measured theirs with a ruler when they were...
Me.
Have you never
What is
measured
wrong
yours?
with you people?
No. Well, what's wrong with you? You never So how long is your penis then when erect?
I have absolutely no idea.
You have no idea?
You know
how
what
tall
we're
are you?
discovering? That
6 foot, just over.
So you've measured your height. Why?
No, my height is measured for me.
Why have you measured your height?
My height is measured for me.
Women don't walk into pubs and go, "Oh, you know,
just a minute,
he
your
must
height
be
is measured
Well,
for
yeah,
you.
when you go and sign on to, which I did 2 weeks ago down here, I signed into a new doctor's surgery, and you have to measure yourself in height. They don't say height, penis length. They just say height, weight, blood pressure. They don't ask you for your penis length.
But
It's
I
something
asked
I've
you, have you
never-
ever measured your height? And you said yes. So you obviously, at some point in your life, you've measured your height.
Well, yes, yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's ridiculous.
No, it's measured for you. I've never actually stood there with a ruler and gone, "Oh, how high am I?" 'Cause
Right.
it never bothered me, but you know your height because it's measured for you. As you're growing up, your mum will put you against the door of the bathroom and make a notch and tell you how high you are and how fast you're growing and all that kind of stuff. But no, not something...
You don't know
I'm not-
how long your penis is?
No.
No. How long's yours, Richard, then? And then we'll move on because I've got other important topics to cover. No, I haven't.
I don't know.
No.
I really don't know.
You do.
No.
Come on.
We're all lying here. We're all lying. Well, yeah. I think everyone has an idea.
I didn't.
Sure.
I never thought that length mattered at all because I have always been, I think, so sensitive and caring and imaginative in bed that it just wasn't an issue.
Oh, just be
Caligula over
honest.
here.
Why are us blokes always susceptible to this spam that you get on increase the size of your manhood? And it must work, otherwise we wouldn't keep getting it in our inboxes. Impress the ladies, impress your friends. Why should it be, as you say?
When you say susceptible, do you
and
mean
I
that you've
share
taken it
many
up?
things.
I mean, have you taken it up? You say susceptible. We're getting them, but you don't actually reply, or do you? He does.
Oh,
No, you don't.
what
No.
about Viagra? Ever?
Yes.
Richard, what is the Viagra experience like?
It's called a pike start for 12 hours and very useful under certain circumstances.
Annoying to sleep with, I imagine.
Well, no, I took it not for reasons of
Sleeping.
for sexual reasons, but to stop me falling out of the bed at night. Who said vaudeville was dead?
I read a book called Hollywood Wives.
Excuse me, do you think I've passed my best?
I read a book called Hollywood Wives, and there was this line in it which detained me. I was about 28. We'd gone on holiday, and you take a couple of books, and I'd run out of them, I'd read them, and my wife had Hollywood Wives, so I read it, and it was just quite good, actually. And then, about a year later, I was interviewing the author, Jackie Collins. Jackie Collins. And I took this up with her, and actually she really warmed to the conversation, because she was doing one of those things that some people have to do, which is a day of interviews.
Yeah.
They sat her in a studio somewhere in London, and all sorts of oiks like me pitched up for 15 minutes and asked her the same bloody questions. But the bit that I remembered from Hollywood Wives was this reference to the fact that this woman was lying on a massage table at a physio's office, and she was being made love to. And she noticed that his long but thin penis was particularly unsatisfying. So I'm starting this interview with, that'll be somebody's phone, that's mine. I'll leave it. So I said to Jackie Collins, thanks very much indeed. I said, because now you give me two things to worry about. Not just the length of my penis, but the width of it. And she said, yeah, you men never think about that. When I was coming down here, I was reminded of this really funny thing that happened to me with phones. Because loads of things that are funny, strange, bad things happen with phones. So I'm in the house one day, and the phone rings, and I'm going through, and so I answered it. I go, ring, 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 ring. And what do you say when you answer the phone in your house now, Richard? Because,
hello?
Yeah. Because, a lot of us are old enough
I
to
am
know...
with those people who are together enough to say, hi, this is the Cartridge household. No, actually, that's all. Oh, you just say hello.
Well, we used to say, didn't we? Like Leamington 1964, and that was because if the person was
Can
in
I
a
just say what really annoyed? I just want to get this out of my system because it happened again twice today.
Yeah.
It's when people say, hello, it's me, or they say hello and they want to speak to somebody else in your household and they don't say who they are.
I know. I've got a mate who rings up.
And you say, well, can I
Yeah, I've
ask
got a
who's
mate,
calling?
and he rings up, and you say hello, and he goes, hello, mate. And on a couple of occasions I've gone, sorry, who is this? And he sounds really indignant. He goes, it's Michael. As if he's in front of you.
Or worse still, it's me.
He sees himself...
Then you don't know it's mine.
He sees himself as being in front of you,
Yeah.
physically. So anyway, so I'm going through the hall, and the phone rings.
God, it's hard to perfect.
And I pick it up, and I go, like you say, how do you answer the phone at home, Matt?
Hello.
Hello. Mark?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
So I went,
Hello.
Hello.
So I went, hello. And at the other end, there's a pause, and then the bloke at the other end goes, hello? Right?
Yeah.
Now, what do you say next? You don't know who it is. You don't recognise the voice. They don't sound as though they know you. And all they've said is, hello. What do you say? It turned out, right, we had a long conversation with me going, I'm sorry, but why did you ring? And then he said, I didn't ring you. He said, I didn't ring you. You rang me.
Why do people say that?
What?
Why do
No,
people say that?
the phone rang. I picked it up. Hello. Bloke at the other end. Hello. Who's this? He said, well, who's this? I said, what? who are you trying to get hold of? He said, I don't know. He said, nobody. Who are you trying to get hold of? Anyway, cut short story.
No, that's a wine, though. It's
No.
gotta be a wine.
It got round to...
No, come on. What's so hard does it happen?
got round to me sort of saying, look, don't talk to me like that. You called me. You must know... What number do you think you're ringing? Well, he said, well, what number do you think you're ringing? And all it was my son had phoned his mate who was engaged, so he put it on ringback. So the phone rang in my house at the same time as his dad, my son's mate's dad, and we both picked the phone up together, and we both thought that the other had rung each other, which was a phone thing moment.
What are the chances?
I used to like Jerry Beadle's voicemail, or he said, "Hello,
Yeah.
hi, yeah, something like that."
Yeah.
Hang on a sec. Please leave your message after.
Yeah, I sometimes answer the phone at home like this. Thank you for calling Tommy Boyd. If you know which extension you require, I do. And
Well, you do that live.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Please press the extension, or if you wish assistance, please press 0. Sometimes you get, and you go.
It's relating to a personal matter.
Hello, did you want to talk to Tommy? I've also told people sometimes that the call's being recorded for training purposes.
I like to use that on call centre operatives, people at the bank and things
I
like
speak
that.
to someone about twice a day in one of the avenues of my work, and he has to say that legally. He bloody hates saying it. You know, he's a very thick Irish lilt, and he has to kind of go through this prosaic.
Well, I got a phone.
Lesbian, you know.
Yeah, I got a phone call back once from a building society or bank, can't remember, and they said, "Your previous call to one of our operatives was so valuable. We would like your permission to use it for training purposes." So I said, yeah, "Of course you can."
Did you negotiate a fee?
Shall I tell you what it was? I phoned up and I was asking for something, and he said, he was a young lad, but he was talking very much like that, Gavin, somebody, and he said, he went through and he said, just to verify for security purposes, he said, could you tell me your mother's maiden name and so various, and your postcode? And I said, oh, well, there is a problem there because our postcode has just changed. That is a beggar when they change your postcode. It's only one digit, but they changed it. So I said to him, try. And he went, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Boyd. You've not been able to verify for security purposes your identity, and therefore we will not be able to continue with this. I said, well, all right. I said, okay. In that case, I know you've got my old postcode, all right? And I gave you a new one because I thought you might have it. So just put in the old one, which is And he said, I'm afraid you've failed the security. Anyway, it went on for a while. But the thing was this, he kept saying... So I said, what do I do? He said, if you would write to us and inform us of your new postcode, then we can make the necessary changes, and therefore you will then be able to continue this transaction. I said, that's going to take, a week? Anyway, it went on and on. He kept using a phrase, which I've come to loathe. He kept saying, the way forward.
Oh, dear.
Business speak. I hate it too.
He kept saying, if you would like to drop us a line, send us a letter with some verification of your identity, such as a utility bill, so we're able to make the changes necessary. That's the way forward. And in the end, I said to him, look, after a long harangue, I said, supposing I just put the phone down, ring you again, and this time give you my new postcode, will that be acceptable? And he went, yes. He said, that could be the way forward. So I said, well, why didn't you bloody suggest that in the first place? Anyway, bloody bar. I think I phoned and made a complaint about him because it was a waste of everybody's bloody time. And then I got the phone call back saying it was so... I think what I meant it was so funny. This Gavin kept saying, that is the way forward. So I agreed. You know they're thinking about changing British summertime again. Yeah. What is the latest plan? They're going to move it forward 2 hours now, throughout the entire year?
Yes. Aimed to give us more daylight so that A, keep us happier, and B, keep us at work longer.
No, wait a minute. I don't know where I've been living, probably under a rock, but what is this? 2 hours forward permanently?
Yeah.
So, in fact, there will only be one change. We won't revert.
There won't be any changes. The proposal...
But we'll go forward initially 2 hours.
From where we are now...
So let's say it's
it will
now
go forward
midday,
another hour.
It will... Oh, I see.
So whereas previously in the winter it was 2 p.m...
So
now
we'll
be
fall
4
back in the
p.m.
autumn 2 hours.
We'll have more light in the winter in the evening, and it will be dark until about 9 o'clock in the morning.
I'm not getting...
I know.
Does it go back and forth?
You know why?
Why?
Always. Fucking farmers. Always fucking farmers.
Really?
Yeah. I saw a bloke interviewed. He's a farmer.
I don't think you know. You're a townie, aren't you?
No, I have got I have many friends who are farmers, as they say. Many of my best friends are farmers.
You don't understand the ways of the land, do you?
Nor do they.
No.
And they're farmers. This farmer interviewed, he
Have
said...
you ever had a problem with your crop?
This farmer, he's got a flat cap and he's got chickens, right? And he says to the reporter, he said, I'm totally against it. Government don't know what they're doing. They don't understand farming. It's going to mean that my chickens, I won't be able to let them out until 9 o'clock in the morning. Now, I racked my brains about the logic of this, because you'd think that farmers would understand that sun up is sun up. Chickens certainly do. But what difference does it make to him what time it says on his Breitling? The chickens come out.
This begs the question.
The sun's up.
Begs the question, what did we do before the watch was invented? How did we know when to get up?
This
and
is my
what
point.
about teenagers? How did they know that they were having a lie-in?
This is my point. We used to, in the good old days, we used to...
God, here we go.
We got up...
Those were the days.
No, I'm talking about...
Do you remember when we could have a good night out for 10 shillings?
No, I'm going back a bit before even then, Richard. I'm going back to medieval times here.
Oh, really?
Feudal
times. We used to get up when the sun went up.
Feudal on your ass.
Medieval on your ass. It was pliers and blowtorch. It was Marcellus who was getting it from behind. Bruce Willis came in. He chose a samurai sword after a lot of consideration. You have any idea what we're talking about? Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction. He mentioned. Anyway.
No, hey, don't do that oh Richard bit with me, you cheeky monkey. I've seen Pulp Fiction. It's one of my favourite movies. What do you think about
Not as
that?
good as Jackie Brown.
What?
In a tangent.
Jackie Brown. That sounds like
Jackie
somebody
Brown
you
is
knew in the Fifth
Tarantino's
Form.
worst film.
That was Jackie Collins, I think.
Oh, was it? Whatever her name was.
And I've got a theory about
Carry
how,
on.
well, I've got a theory
You
about,
were very patient
No.
while we let you get a word in again.
I've got a theory about how we can accommodate the farmers' difficulty with all of this. Because they really believe they're more important than the universe, because the universe delivers less light during the winter. They can't get their heads around it. They cannot live... This is the government's fault. Definitely. So here's my suggestion. If we make a watch, right, whether it's a Breitling or whatever, if we make a watch and a clock...
This podcast is not sponsored by Breitling.
Not yet.
Is that what have you got there?
It's a Rolex, since you ask.
Oh, I'd say if
No,
it's
no,
sponsored by
no.
Rolex, we're quids in.
No, it says Bolex. It's one of those Hong Kong
No,
copies.
this is a real Rolex, and shall I tell you how I can prove it?
Yeah.
It doesn't keep perfect time. No, don't laugh.
Where
I
did
bought
you get
this.
that then?
Well, I used to be a dolphin trainer, and I used to have to dive every lunchtime and sweep out and clean out the dolphins' tanks.
Just a minute. You were a dolphin trainer?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I used to have to go down there, and I couldn't stay down more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would get slight bends when I came up. So what I needed was a diving watch to see how long I'd been down there.
I'm sorry, I'm sure you're telling me the truth.
No.
Just sounds improbable.
what I used
I've
to-
never known anybody who's been a dolphin trainer before.
I was pretty good.
Yeah?
So what I used to have to do was I used to strap the tank on,
I used to stuff crocodiles,
and you used
but
to...
I don't want to go into that.
No. I used to have to wear weighted boots, and this was a funny thing, because I was sweeping the bottom of the dolphin tank. I had to take a broom down with me, but you know brooms are made of wood, so this thing would want to go up.
Really? No shit, Sherlock.
So I used to have to tie a weight onto the broom, and I'd be sweeping the broom. Then I'd have to go up to the glass window that punters would look at the dolphins underwater through, and I had to look through it at the clock in the cafeteria to see if I had to come up. So I promised myself that if I could ever afford it, I'd buy myself a decent diver's watch. And this is it. And it is
Can I just ask you, could you see okay underwater? Could you see the clock clearly?
just about, because it was a big clock.
Yeah.
And so I bought this Rolex, and it is a Rolex, and it turns out to be the one that James Bond wears in the original novels, the old Supermariner. Anyway, right, now listen to this, because you'll love this. Listen, you'll love this. Shut up. You'll love this.
Is that a chick mag?
Well, you like it. I might get a bit of action out of you later, obviously. Well, that's a Breitling that probably will
Tell you
get...
how big he was.
Breitling will
You
get
said
me...
Breitling
Breitling
again.
will get me oral sex, obviously.
Say Breitling again, why not?
So I bought it, and I did what people in broadcasting do. I set it to Greenwich Mean Time. This is a Rolex.
Yeah.
So I had it all set to go, and I took it home, turned the radio on, and beep, 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 and I it is set to Greenwich Mean Time. It's a fucking Rolex. And I woke up the following morning, and the news was starting, and I looked, and left 30 seconds late with the news this morning. And I kept tabs on it, and my Rolex was losing a minute and a half a day.
No.
So...
What did you pay for it?
800 quid. I took it back to the shop.
No, but really, what did you pay for it?
In Brighton. And I said to the bloke, my Rolex is losing about a minute and a half a day. And you know what he said?
Yeah.
He said, that's how you can tell it's a quality watch. No, listen. No.
It's a watch that can't keep time.
No, this
and it cost you 800 quid.
This was brilliant. He said to me...
What a great line.
He said, anybody can go to the end of the pier and buy a Casio for $4.99 that will keep perfect time in the cosmos for the rest of eternity.
Yeah.
But you've got there, sir, a complex mechanism. Of course it's going to go wrong.
Listen, I need to take a break.
So I walked out of the shop thinking, what a great anecdote.
Actually, I need to take a... you going to let me on?
Yeah, have a wee.
Well, let me on.
Don't forget to shake. Paul.
No, Paul.
It's the toothpaste technique.
Thank you. I'm glad you reminded me of it.
I think it's time for another round.
Time for another round?
I'll let you guys...
Okay, carry on. Me and Matt will just chew the
Don't
fat
do
for a
that.
moment. If we had, instead of daylight saving time and British summer time, if we had an internationally agreed timekeeping mechanism whereby during the winter, during daylight time, an hour lasted 30 minutes. Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you did an 8-hour day, you'd only actually be at work for 4 old hours.
Right.
So you would wake up at 5 a.m, it would say on your watch, in January, and it would be daylight.
So
It would
would
take you twice as long to get to work.
Yeah.
Instead of 23 minutes, it would take 46 minutes.
Yeah.
But at work, you would be finished at your usual 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and it would still be daylight. So you could drive home in daylight, and you could be sat there watching Emmerdale, and the sun is still up in January. You see what I'm saying?
Would you have 28-hour days then,
No,
theoretically?
because night time would be 120-minute hours.
Okay.
And it would tally. Think it through.
Yeah, no, it would tally mathematically, yes.
If at 6 o'clock in the morning you switched to daylight, very fast clocks that got through an hour and 30 minutes,
Yeah.
all right? Then you would have 12 hours of daylight during the winter.
The trains would be a fucking nightmare.
They just take twice as long.
They don't already.
They just take
They
twice
wouldn't
as
know
long.
what time they were turning
But
on.
you see how it would work, because psychologically all farmers want to do is get up to daylight in the morning. Richard, give it a moment's thought. It's the kind of psychology that makes great prime ministers.
Right. I see.
Are you going now?
Bloody crazy.
Well, what is that meant to infer?
Yeah. Not meant to infer anything. It's meant to categorically point out that you've got a weak...
I mean, we used to get on so well, and there's just been an edge to you today.
I've just been explaining my idea for daylight saving time.
You see, the fact that you're ignoring me means there's something wrong. Come out and say it. Let's be honest with each other.
What I'm suggesting is that I've told Matt. We'll tell you about it later, all right? Now, I've got another idea for saving football. Do you care about football in the slightest, Richard?
Yeah, what? I've just subscribed to a certain premier TV supplier to supply me with sports forever.
Who's
You
your
mean-
team again?
Saints.
Southampton.
You mean you just started paying £40 a month when there's only 5 games of the season left?
No, I've topped up what I'm getting already.
Right. But there's only 5 games left. I'd have left it 3 or 4 months and then
That's
start
not
at the
the
beginning of the
point.
season, save a bit of money. It's a recession.
I get interesting sports like poker.
Yeah,
And
there's always
women's curling.
I'll tell you the thing
One of
about
my favourites.
about poker. There's always these days. It always seems to me to be at 2 a.m. in the morning a sexy woman playing. I always expected
I've
it to
never
be.
watched it. Tell me more.
Yeah, no, there is. No, I won't. What I was going to say was this. By the way, Matt, the World Cup's coming up. What are you on about?
That's on normal telly.
Yeah, it's a good point. You know football's in trouble, losing money. I've got a serious suggestion as to how they can make the game even more interesting and save money. And it is so bloody simple. It really annoys me that extremely intelligent people who are earning fat bucks out of the Premier League haven't thought of it.
Have we got a guess?
It is so fucking obvious.
Yeah.
And it would work hugely well.
Pray tell.
How much in debt are Manchester United?
Well, I've got no idea.
518 million.
Yeah.
How much?
518
I heard
million.
you first time, but I wanted you to say it again.
518 million. It's 519 million
I wouldn't get
now.
out of bed for that.
520
Oh,
million now.
Eh?
521 million. It's going
Well,
up.
it's gone up.
That's the joke.
That's interesting.
Not very good, but I'm persistent with it.
That's yeah.
530 million now it
Yeah.
is.
What does that mean to you? I mean, how does that
Inflation,
compare
mate.
with? How much is it now?
542 million, yeah. So, right, listen, this is so bloody obvious to me. What is the bulk of that debt down to?
Player wages and
Player
savings.
wages, man. Player wages. Player bloody wages, isn't it? Who says there have to be 11 men on the pitch? If you reduce the number of men playing football on the pitch from 11 to 10, you would save your wage bill 8.75%, which could be the difference between profit and loss, between existence and non-existence for the football clubs. But not only that would they make a massive saving by getting rid of Ashley Cole, because that's what this is all about. This is what it's all about, really. But also the game would be more entertaining, because at the moment I think there are too many men on the pitch, and they're too fit nowadays. They cover everything. I was watching Barcelona-Arsenal last night, and whilst there was some good football, there were too many men on the pitch.
Well, that's the way Barcelona made it feel for Arsenal.
The
They
right
were closing
score,
down so quickly.
the right score should have been 3-0 after 10 minutes, but
Yes.
it wasn't because of that extra man. If Arsenal and Barca had been playing 10 men each, right, that would have been 3-0 after 10 minutes. And that's what we want, goals.
Therefore, also descending off.
We got goals. We got 4.
More, we want more. That's
We
what the
might as well
Americans...
introduce the multi-ball
I have a
system.
theory that.
No, how's that going to save money? Sorry, Mark. How's that going to save
won't
money,
save
having more than
money,
one ball?
but-
That costs more money. Now you're into buying more balls. Do you know how much a Premier League ball costs?
About 40 quid.
120 quid. Sorry,
two
Mark.
things. One serious and
Getting
one
bossy now.
not so serious.
You always were.
Thank you.
Throw-ins become kickings.
That doesn't save money.
No, it doesn't save money.
I'm saving money and making the game more
Provides
attractive.
More goals, more entertainment value. More
Not really. Most people can throw a ball just as well as they can kick it now anyway. You look at Rory Delap, who can cross a ball into the area from the halfway line with a throw-in.
Most people can throw a ball as well as they can kick
As
it.
far as they can kick it.
Who can
Premier
throw a
League,
football 120 yards?
Rory Delap.
There's two
No, he
players.
can't.
He can. There was that guy on TV a few weeks ago, broke the world record for throwing a football, and he got it pretty much the whole length of the pitch.
Right.
There's two players in the English league that I know of that have a tremendous throw. One's Delap, another one is plays for Brentford. I think his name's David Hunt. He has an extraordinary throw. Opposition.
Throwing's so bloody interesting to you blokes, then why do you think they'd have throw of the fucking day, huh? Huh?
Welcome to Throw of the Day.
Throw of the month. They could have a competition. Is it A,
I
Rory
like it. I
Delap?
like it.
B, Rory Delap? C,
Could you-
this is Rory Delap?
Excuse me,
or
excuse
D,
me.
Rory
Excuse
fucking
me,
Delap?
Excuse me, you've been in a funny mood all afternoon.
Thank you.
Do you know, I've
Exactly how
completely
you like
forgot
it.
what I was going to
You
say.
see my
now.
point?
You've
You've drifted off my point.
here he goes again.
I'm making a
Nothing to do
very
with our goals,
constructive point. If you reduce the number of players on the club's books, right, you will dramatically
No, you
increase
said
their
reduce
profit.
the number of players on the
On the
pitch.
pitch, yeah.
Yeah, well, if you've got fewer players on the
Don't
pitch, you
take a
need,
few subs off the
you
bench.
need fewer players in your
Don't take a
squad.
few subs off the bench.
How many subs are there on the bench?
Well, I don't know.
Well, there you
Tell
are,
me
you see.
about it. Oh, I know what I wanted you to do, smart ass.
Yes?
Explain to me the
Yeah.
offside rule.
Easy. I'm a qualified referee. Did you know that?
Yeah, of course you are.
No, I am a qualified
I
referee.
know you've done so
Seriously.
much. You made me feel
No,
so inadequate.
I am a qualified FA referee. I took it because I was too young to take the coaching badge.
Yeah, could you just explain to me?
What do you wanna
without
know?
Giving me your CV.
What do you wanna know?
What the offside rule is?
Right. Imagine you're in a shoe shop. Okay?
No, this is how you explain it to women. How dare you?
Good spot.
I'm not Imelda Marcos. Tell me about it.
Well, I like what Danny Blanchflower, the legendary and slightly insane.
There are 2 Danny Blanchflowers, aren't there?
Well, there are after you've had a couple of pints of hopping. How are you doing?
No, there are 2. One is a captain of industry, and the other
Okay.
is the Danny Blanchflower that we know.
Well, I'm thinking
with
very
the long
much of
shorts
the-
and the short temper.
I'm
Go on, carry
thinking
on.
very much of the views of the captain of industry on the offside rule. Danny Blanchflower said, the offside rule is like the bunkers in golf, okay? They're artificial, but somehow they make the game more interesting. And it's the same with the offside rule. It's a load of old bollocks, but it makes the game more interesting.
Yeah, I just don't get... I mean, I like football as a spectacle, and the blessing is that it's not like cricket that goes on interminably for days and days and weeks and months. It's 45 minutes, break for a pint and a chat, 45 minutes, we all go home. I like that about it.
But the length of a game of cricket, what is it the Indians say? They say, I'll do the accent. People say that cricket is a metaphor for life. Well, it's not. Life is a metaphor for cricket. Which is quite neat. It's the closest you get to a one-liner from the Hindus.
That was bloody marvellous.
Thank you. It's all right. I also do Mussolini.
Really, did he have this metaphor for life thing going on?
He had an extraordinary neck, Mussolini.
Did he like cricket?
And I like... Do you know what his famous last words were?
No. I
you
told
wanna
you
know?
I was ill, didn't I?
I told you what... No. Better than that. They took Mussolini and his missus, his mistress, up a mountain pass, these 6 Italian partisans who'd been given the job of killing him. And they took him up a mountain pass, and he knew what was going on. He knew... And they're going up, and they get to a sort of a little pull-in bit on one of those mountain passes. You know, you can pull into and let the truck with chickens come down the other way. And they pull in there, and they get out, and Mussolini thinks, right, this is it. This is okay. I've had a good life. You know, I've been Il Duce. He used to shag with his spats on. I've always admired him for that, if nothing
Really?
else.
How'd you
yeah.
know that?
Yeah, I've read a couple
That's
of biographies.
something in Hello magazine.
No, a couple of biographies of this. But anyway, so he's there, right, and he goes back against the cliff face, and this partisan gets this Bren gun out of the boot of the car, and he comes over towards Mussolini, and Mussolini just pulls himself up to his full height and waits, and the guy pulls the trigger, and it goes click. Yeah, misfires. So the guy goes, you know, whatever Italian is for these fucking Italian guns. And he goes back to the car, leaving Mussolini standing there now, knowing that the bloke's going to go to the car, get another gun, come back and shoot him to death. And the bloke comes back, and now the bloke's nervous, but Mussolini's holding it together. And the bloke comes back with a brain gun, and he points it at Mussolini, but this time he's sort of aiming a little bit higher than he was before. And Mussolini's last words? Not in the face. Which I think is mustard. For all his crimes, and he was a fascist, and he probably had people killed, he wasn't a Jew hater, as far as is documented, so he was nowhere near as bad as Hitler. But he was a bad man. But I tell you what, I even admired Saddam Hussein, the way he... Because it's all on YouTube, isn't it? His last moments. And somebody shouts up, go to fucking hell, Saddam. And he just looks down from his Quran. He looks up from his Quran, and he looks down and he just goes, what the hell is now Iraq? And then they put the noose around his neck and he's gone. You've got to think about it.
Quite heavy, isn't it?
Not really, you've got to think
As
about it a
always
little
does
bit.
when you get 4 blokes in a pub.
Well, we go up and down, in and out.
But Mussolini, I think, was to the end being, from what you've said, manipulative, because he could then be in an open coffin, as he knew after he'd been shot. If he'd taken it in the face, he would have to close the
No, that was
coffin.
Che Guevara.
No, it was Mussolini.
No, Mussolini, they hung him upside down outside a garage.
Do you know, that's happened to me. That's happened to me, and I didn't know to this day.
Well, if you
what
were one
I
of
did
those-
to deserve that.
If you were one of those people who used it as a spa supermarket, and you pull up to buy £3 worth of
Oh,
petrol
God,
and go
don't.
inside there and do the half-weekly shop, and you're standing there and all you want to do is get cracking with your pork pie and your petrol, and there's somebody in there counting out, they've got their bread and their cheese, and they bought flowers and milk and croissant and all the rest of it, you know, then I'd hang you upside down from the forecourt. No,
Well,
I
it's
wouldn't. No, I
interesting
wouldn't.
because-
It's harsh.
But I've often had occasions where 1 minute I've been happily drinking in the pub, next minute I'm hanging from a tree somewhere in a copse. I don't know where I am.
When was the last time you did a handstand?
Did I do what?
A handstand.
I did a handstand.
Yeah, when was the
That's
last
what I
time you
thought
did a
said.
handstand?
I don't do it now. I,
mean,
don't know if I'd ever get
no,
down.
but
Do
the
you know what I'm
question
worried
still
about
is alive. When was the last time? You might have been 4, but when was the last time you did a handstand?
You used to be a teacher.
I was a
I
gymnastics
can tell that
teacher.
you're a bloody control freak.
Gymnastics Matt,
teacher.
when was the last time you did a handstand?
You know, I don't think it was all that long ago. Maybe a couple of 3 years.
What was the reason for it?
Drunk outside a pub.
Yes. And did the blood rush to your head, or...?
I think I woke up a few minutes later being sort of slapped around the face, maybe fallen over and knocked myself out. I've
What
done that a
about
few
you,
times.
Mike? Do you do handstands? You're from the
last
city
time-
of London. I mean, people are doing handstands all the time in Chelsea. It's quite the thing.
I dabbled with yoga in my late teens and had a go.
You dabbled with who?
Yoga.
Oh, I thought you said Yoda.
That would be
I was never that much of a geek.
I would
strange
And I crooked my
interracial
neck.
soiree.
Pizza the Hut.
Put me
But
off
you
for
can
life.
find it somewhere on internet. Not particularly with Mark, but somebody with yoga.
Yes. Anyway, moving quickly on. You were saying?
No, I dabbled with yoga in my late teens and I crooked my neck, so I was put off the hold into Tai Chi instead.
Ah, now this is a good sign. Have you ever
Qigong.
dabbled with something mesmeric?
What, drugs?
Yeah, I was going to say LSD.
No.
What?
Pink Floyd.
Yes.
What, drugs or
No, it's...
repetition as a form of mantra?
I'm not doing it. In fact, I'm so tempted
What?
to get into the lotus position, but I'm not sure, again, like handstands, that I'd ever be able to extricate myself.
There's a channel on Sky, it's 275, and
The
it's
yoga
called...
channel.
It's called
Yoda.
It's called Mind and Body, and you go on there and you get some really fascinating yoga, and some I've got to say,
Young nubile women
oh,
bending
not
in-
young actually. No, interestingly, not young.
Right.
You're on
They're
the
all-
yoga channel, you
They're
are.
all about 40,
Oh.
and they're in leotards, and they're in Californian versions of sort of yoga environments, which is
Excuse me, I'm so sorry to interject. How do you know this and we
because
don't know this?
okay, I'll go back to
Do
what I
you
said before.
Are you one of
Channel
those sad people
275.
who... 275?
275.
That you flick through trying to find nubile middle-aged ladies.
Of course. Of
Yeah,
course, and
yeah,
if aerobics Oz style isn't on, I've got to keep on the move.
Aerobics Oz style is fantastic.
It is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, they used to have it in the hotel in Spain that
Yeah.
my parents stayed at.
Yeah, isn't she gorgeous? But obviously vacant. That one with
Yeah.
the long blonde hair.
Yes.
Yeah, there you
vaguely
go.
remember.
I don't know about you, Mike. I feel excluded.
But here's the one, Mind and Body. Right, it's got these.
I watch Antiques Roadshow.
To buy or not to buy.
There's something wrong with me.
Some of these 45-year-old women doing it. Okay, they've got bottoms,
Huh?
and sometimes they lie on their tummy and they curve up.
Yeah.
And do things, and their bottoms look so firm that you know that if you took a little drumstick on their bottom and tapped it would go. It's that solid.
Yeah.
You
Excellent.
know they could crack a pistachio using that cleft. It's fantastic. But here's the one that really
But
amused
would
me.
you like your pistachio crush, Mike? Probably. What a great way to go.
What? Oh, that's how I'd like to go.
How would you like to go?
On the job. I would like to die of a fractured skull. Which
That could be arranged.
I would like to die. Hear me through, because I've given this a lot of thought. I would like to die, okay, of a fractured skull, which was fractured against the door beam, okay, of a boudoir, right, caused by me being chaired shoulder high out of the boudoir by a team of exotic, satisfied whores.
You haven't thought about that much,
Dunk.
then, presumably.
And I'm gone.
So it's accidental.
Yes, yourself?
No,
Because it's instant. I don't want to have too long
it's
to
This is
funny.
what there
Could
is to
we
look
get
forward to.
philosophical? The four of us. Philosophical, because wouldn't we all like to actually go out with a bang instead of a lingering death? But that's a heartbreaker for your family and friends.
How
isn't
would
it?
you like to go, Richard?
To be serious, I would like to go suddenly. Not now particularly, but that sort of descent into illness, old age, senility, all things I'm experiencing now.
Yes, beat me
no,
to it.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, that's
difficult.
just the same answer as the one you gave 10 minutes ago.
I know this isn't very light, but just consider about death is the only thing that's definitely going to happen in life, isn't it? You see what I mean? Everything else we don't know, but it's inevitable that we will pop our clogs. So why is it so hard to cope with?
Are you scared by death?
Less as I get older.
Matt?
It's not something I tend to give too much thought
Well
to.
upon.
Yeah. Am I scared of it? No. Could it happen tomorrow? Does that bother me? No.
It is, like Peter Pan said, it is a wonderful adventure. Looking forward to it. Because either nothing, and who's afraid of nothing? Or everything you wondered about will be told to you. So
Yeah. And you?
I think the same as Tommy. You put it quite as floridly. Yeah, I don't dwell on it too much. I do think if you dwell on it too much, you miss the here and now.
I'm actually quite reassured at Tommy's attitude, the fact that, if I'm interpreting what you're saying in the right way, is that we don't know. I think, and I'm all for this adventurous approach, the fact that we don't know what happened. For all we know, there could be something, but it may be something that nobody had thought of. And how on this plane could we understand what that might be?
Well, look, nature is the best recycling machine there's ever been. It wastes absolutely nothing. Nothing is wasted. So, what would be the point, in evolutionary terms, even if you don't believe in God, what would be the point of the human system accumulating a great deal of knowledge and a great deal of feeling and emotional wealth, accumulating that, which many of us, not all of us, do, but what would be the point of that accumulation unless it had further use in the same way that when a leaf falls, it becomes mould that gets turned into fertiliser, that gets turned into another tree?
Yeah, but some people would say that the answer is to that is procreation, that you live on through your children genetically and what you've taught them.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying, so what happens to the accumulation of knowledge that you have, the accumulation of feeling that you have for other people, friends, family, a sunlit morning? That's the thing about death. I always think when it comes to my time, I will hopefully be happily resigned to it. But I know I'll always want one more day.
Yeah.
You see, now today happens to be a Thursday, and I'm really interested in Friday and possibly Saturday as well.
Yeah.
Next Monday, I don't give a fuck. It's not crossed my horizon at all. But if I were to die today, I would be disappointed because I've already got thoughts about tomorrow, and I'd like them realised. And I've got a godmother who is famous for saying, years and years and years ago, I don't want to live beyond 30. I can't imagine how awful that would be. And she's in her 80s now, and she's been tackled about it plenty of times because she said it a lot. And she said, I know. She said, but when I got to 30, I realised I wanted one more day. And I've taken that. And I think that's what keeps people hanging on and hanging on. But some people annoy me, some old people, because all they're proud of is that they've lived a long time. They haven't lived very much within that time.
No.
Just that, and they come up to you and they go, how old do you think I am? And you look at them and you go, oh, you're 82, but I better exaggerate. I don't know, 27? And they go, no, I'm 82. And that's their achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The number of years that they have managed to remain on the planet.
Don't you think the frightening thing is that when you're a child, then I can remember clearly at 14 thinking of anybody over 25 was really ancient. I genuinely had that thought. But then when you make that transition from child at around 15, 16 through adolescency, through being an adolescent to being an adult, then once you get to adult, of course, you don't feel that much different inside. I mean, I've lived a lot of years since being 20-odd, but I don't really feel, because it's been as an adult all this time, you don't really feel that different. Surely it applies to, although we're different ages, it applies to all of us, doesn't it? In your adult years, maybe you feel a bit more comfortable with yourself, you've had more experience, but you don't actually feel like a different person.
The only thing I really notice is that the good-looking women are getting younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I see 12-year-olds driving cars, I mean, that's...
Well, you do live in Southampton.
Yes.
Matt, let me explain some of this.
Hey, thank you.
Let me explain something that's really, really great. You know when you're about 28, 29... I fell in love with this 37-year-old Frenchwoman when I was 14 on a school trip to France. She used to look after the little bar on the beach, and because the French would allow this, we used to be able to get cognac and coffee aged 14 on the beach at 10 o'clock in the morning off this woman who had a gingham skirt that went as she walked. I fell in love with her. She hung her napkin just yay against
Do you
her
know,
ass.
isn't that funny, those
Yay
things
against,
you remember?
Yeah, but
It's subtle things.
yeah.
That is so interesting.
The way the noise, her gingham skirt. She walked. She knew what she was doing. She knew the way she would lean across with the cognac and just touch her arms and things. Anyway, I fell in love with her because there was something so exotic about somebody who was as old as 38, who obviously
She was 37, that's inflation.
Yeah, exactly, yes, 39 now. She could remember what sex was like. But what happens, Matt, funnily enough, is that as you get older women start to look sexier than they did when you were 18, right? And I refer you to Courtney Cox. Courtney Cox is on this TV show now called Cougar Town. You know this word cougar is for women of a certain age who are still hungry for it. They're in their kind of 40s. Courtney Cox is 45. And, you know, forgive me, she is just, you know, superb, isn't she? In every respect.
I've broadened my horizons even further, I have to say. The only difference about a man getting older is it broadens the age group of the women you fancy.
What is the optimum age for a woman? When are they at their prime, would you say? Obviously, relative.
Depends.
When are they legal? 16?
It's a really good question, isn't it? I think about 38.
I'd say 37.
Like that
Really?
French woman, she
Yeah.
set me up for life because the 38-year-old woman just
I've always
is.
gravitated to women in their kind of mid-late 30s. And
They're relaxed about it.
Yeah,
They're
they know what they
they're
want.
interesting.
Yeah, but isn't that relative
Experiential
to
wisdom,
where
isn't
you
it?
are in your life now?
Yeah.
I mean, some women would be terribly offended to think, I mean, I've met some really sexy women in their 50s because they take care of themselves like we all should. They got that life's knowledge. And as Tommy was saying, you know, when a woman knows what she's doing, if she's being sensual, then it's a real turn-on.
I had a date a few weeks ago. Well, I wouldn't call it a date, more than a meeting with a girl I met online.
A meeting?
Yeah, about a month
How
ago.
does that differ from a date?
Briefcases.
Absolutely, yeah. And she said that she was 36, and she looked delicious. And I met her outside Southampton, in a lay-by. No, actually in a pub. And as soon as I saw her, I knew she was as good-looking, if not slightly prettier than her pictures. Somewhat older. Couldn't quite put my finger on it. And turned out she was 48. And she looked about 41. Admittedly a little beyond my age zone, but you know, I did kind of ask her why did she say that she was not, you know, in her 40s or mid 40s or late 40s. She said,
So would you stop? Sorry, carry on.
well, the attention she got from the older men was somewhat unwanted, which I think is, you know, relative but unfair. But it was she was. If I hadn't have asked her age, I would have assumed 41. Very sexy,
But you
very confident.
would not see her again because she was physically older than that.
If I'm completely honest, and I like to be completely honest, because she was 47 and because she lied about her age,
Yeah,
it
that's-
grated.
yeah.
It grated.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 34 just, so...
But you know, it's funny you say about internet dating sites, you kind of apologise for it. I mean, there was a time, I've got a partner now, and she's been with me 10 years. Was that funny?
No,
I didn't mean it.
kind of slightly delayed, kind of apologise. I am awfully sorry, Richard. You know, I haven't
I'm sorry
apologised
too.
properly here. Let me just...
No, but it struck me because I was of an age, and I mean anything over 20 odd is of an age. From the point of view, I'll say what I mean in a minute. 10 years ago, okay, I was 49, 50. Now, where do you go to meet somebody who you even want to go out to dinner with? Do you go to clubs or you go to pubs and try and chat somebody up? Even you're a lot younger than me, Mark. And Matt, I'm sure, you don't just go... it's undignified.
But it's hard now. If you go into a bar, I mean, I'm happy to talk to anyone, even you. But I'm in a bar, and you're chatting up with a...
No, but if you're trying to come on to somebody...
That's what they think immediately, that you want to get inside their knickers, basically.
Yeah.
And you may do, but not necessarily that night. You might want to actually...
Yeah, but if you're having to
court
shout
them.
over loud music,
and the
it's not...
bombastic environment, whatever you're in, and it is
Yeah.
actually quite interesting to hold of
Yeah.
it. Just some kind of...
Drink helps, doesn't it, guys? Drink helps us and them a little bit to loosen up and get a little bit more in the mood. Do you not think? But you got me thinking about something, Mark, and that is just, I'm just trying to remember whether, when I was young, free and single, and I did my best with the opposite sex, I'm just trying to remember whether I ever went to bed with a young lady for the first time and both of us were sober on the first occasion. And I'm beginning to think, I don't think we were.
I'd love to know what percentage.
So why are there so many Muslims in the world? Oh.
I'd love to know roughly, not that you could possibly get or acquire this figure, what percentage of...
How do they do it? How do they
Well,
get
it's
off
all
with-
arranged for them,
How do
isn't
they
it?
get off with each other? I've always said, that if those guys on those planes on 9/11 had, when the trolley dolly was coming down, gone, Mohammed, what do you want? Gin and tonic? Assam? Bacardi and Coke?
Yeah.
Fine.
The world would be a much better place right now.
They would have simply made a connection to Las Vegas and made a fucking good weekend of it.
Yeah,
There's a lot to be said for drink.
there is. Yeah.
Cheers.
When's the most drunk you've ever been, Tommy? I seem to recall an anecdote about you swimming in the sea.
Yeah,
off
we
Brighton.
decided to try and drink in every pub on the seafront in Brighton on my mate's 21st birthday.
Oh,
Here
here
comes
he comes.
Richard back. No drips on his trousers, so obviously...
No, well, thank you for checking.
He's had a good pull.
Either that or he's lined it with some toilet roll.
Well, it's funny you should say that, but no, I haven't. No.
We're talking about the most drunk we've ever been, and of course you don't remember the most drunk you've ever been, but a most drunk I've ever been was trying to drink in, having a drink. I'll tell you what, it's funny we should get there. Let's do this. When I was younger, we used to do pub crawls, and I'm not sure if they've disappeared or at least receded.
No, people I know from my various sons, they still do.
Still do pub crawl, and it's the same thing. Is it still one in every pub and then on? One in a pub and then on.
That's right.
There's
Okay.
a great game you can play. It's called pub golf. Okay, what you do is you set up with some friends, okay, and you decide your route. You choose 18 pubs, each pub being a hole. Okay, you then choose what par each pub is. So you have a par 5, a par 3, a par 4, or whatever. And you stick
hope
to
this
that
doesn't mean
par.
what I think it
So
means.
if you go into a par 3 and buy a pint, you have to drink it in 3 swigs. So basically you're only allowed to put it down twice. If you go into a par 5, if you have perhaps a shot, you then have to have 4 other shots because it's a par 5, and it works like that until you get to the 18th pub and no one
So
can remember who
we're
they've gone
talking
out
about
with.
18, if you play the full course,
You could end up
18
having...
pubs,
Yeah,
you're going to be seriously inebriated.
seriously inebriated.
Shall I tell you what I found out? You know Barack Obama? You know he's got a sister-in-law lives in...
What?
You know he's got a sister... Listen. You know he's got a sister-in-law lives in Woking. No, shh. Listen. This will
Oh,
make
not
you...
the Woking Obamas.
Yeah. This will make you laugh. About 7 years ago, before he was like who he is, he came over to visit her, and her boyfriend... Barack Obama's sister-in-law's boyfriend phoned some of his mates and they went on a pub crawl in Woking. And I've got this mental image of the greatest man on earth 7 years ago, right, standing in a taxi queue at Woking, right, with a kebab in one hand, fag on, and a road cone on the side of his head.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we have.
But what do you think? I mean, I'd like to go to Woking and actually see the pubs. That I don't. I want
Do
to
you
know how
think they've
many
got little
pubs.
blue plaques on them
You
saying
think-
Barack Obama was
I want to
on
know
pub crawl?
which
Barack
pub.
Obama.
Barack Babaloo.
If I could find out which pubs he crawled around Woking and what he had, I would do the Barack Obama pub crawl.
You could make it into a
Oh,
tourist attraction,
of
couldn't
course
you?
you could.
We have hit on an idea.
They're
this
so
afternoon.
stupid,
The
people in
Barack
Woking.
Obama pub trend.
Oh, they are.
No
It's a
experience in
Woking
Woking.
tourist board.
I just
Well,
distanced
need to
myself
hear
from that
about it.
comment.
Okay, but talk about how people don't take tourist advantage of what they've got. Here we are sat in a pub, gentlemen. All right? I won't say the name. I don't know how much you know about this pub, Richard. I've had a drink in here with you before, so I might have told you why this pub is famous. Should be famous.
No, is it something to do with Oscar Wilde?
Matt, do you know why this pub's famous? No. Mark?
I would concur with Richard.
It's not.
It never was
just
going to be,
concur
was
with
it?
Richard on every occasion.
Tell us what it is.
In this pub, yonks ago, H.G. Wells sat down and he wrote War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
In this
Really?
And guess where he set it? Guess where the aliens actually landed in the book. Never mind
Woking.
about Woking.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
they
they
did.
would, didn't
No, they bloody did. Can you imagine that? Yes. The whole War of the Worlds was set in Woking. We're back to Woking. Anyway, I wanted to rate
to Woking.
Doesn't
all
sound
roads.
very cool, does it?
Cool.
Woking.
No, I don't know why he said it in Woking.
Have you noticed the Americans have really cool places? Phoenix, Nashville,
Yeah.
Peterborough.
It helps with songs, doesn't it? Can you imagine 24 hours to Tranmere? Only, go on, do it, Richard. Only 24 hours from
Tranmere.
Doesn't work, does it?
Yeah, no.
There's only one song I thought that was good about British names.
By the time I get to Hove, no, it doesn't work.
No, it needs to be Feltham.
In fact, that-
No, by the time I get to Feltham.
To where?
By the time I get to Feltham, she'll be waiting.
Is Feltham not the ugliest? I live quite near Feltham, actually. Is it not the ugliest British town name, possibly?
Not
It's
at
the
all.
ugly. It used
Or
to be.
Dunoon.
It used to be the ugliest.
Place of which I am fond.
Where?
Dunoon. It's kind of an ugly, rotund name.
Why do you say those two places?
They just crop up. I know them both, but I'm just thinking of names that don't kind of ring off the
No,
tongue.
it's just that I'm born in Feltham of people who live in Dunoon, so I'm feeling kind of spooky about.
Really?
Unless you knew that, and this is
I didn't.
and that would be even more spooky.
No, I knew that you are from the Feltham area. And
Yeah, no, I'm from
that kind of area too.
Brayton Abbey, Feltham, which was a hell of a dump. It was one of two places which bombed out EastEnders were relocated to after the war. They built a lot of prefab houses, and they stuck them all in there, which is why even though I come from southwest London, which is generally sort of places like Merton and Richmond, where they talk like that. I'm from Feltham, and they talk like that. And there's another part of Portsmouth which is very similar, and when I go through it, I can hear the accent, and I feel I'm at home, because that is this. What I'm talking like now is how I talk. So when I started broadcasting, I had to obviously round it up a little bit, because that was a very naff accent. Now, my sons, who were born and brought up in Chichester, who actually talk like that, they go around affecting the accent that I had to kill off. Hello, Dad, you all right, mate?
Yeah, my
They find it.
son
Hello,
does
mate,
the
all right,
same.
Dad.
17. How old are your
Yeah,
kids?
19.
9, yeah, well.
Yeah,
well,
hello, all right, mate?
Yeah, well, yeah.
You all right, mate? They say to me, you all right,
Yeah,
Dad? How you doing, mate? All right?
Yeah, what?
I said, why are you talking like that? It's call it, Dad. No, but Feltham is a dump.
And Dunoon.
And Dunoon, which...
Never heard of Dunoon.
Well,
It's
sounds like
supposedly
something
the
off the
wettest
League of
place
Extraordinary
in Scotland. It's
Gentlemen.
actually a very lovely place. They call it the Riviera of the North.
Well,
Anywhere that's got that name associated must mean it's
tourist
hell on earth.
boys,
It's
right?
actually, I dated a girl there once many years ago. I spent quite a bit of time there.
what was her name?
Match.com.
I don't know, it wasn't Match.com.
Not
It was
Anne or
MyLife.com, actually.
I've got cousins there still.
I won't. Her name began with G. A lovely, sweet lass.
Georgina?
Of whom I'm fond, but no longer
Gertrude.
in contact.
Gretna.
You're getting kind of not very close, but yeah.
Well, when there was
Gary.
when there, Gary, when there was a
Confession
cold...
to make, Matt, you are actually incorrect on that one.
The
Her
thing
name
about
was Steve.
Yeah, the thing about Dunoon is that when there was a Cold War,
Going to you with Steve.
the Americans...
Happened to be straight as well, actually, Richard.
The thing about Dunoon, the Americans stuck all their nuclear submarines in Holy Loch, it was called, which was right next to Dunoon.
I know it, yeah.
And we used to go up there for holidays in the family hotel, and you used to be able to sit at dusk most nights, and you'd look across the Clyde, which was about 4 mile wide, and just as dusk was happening, this thing from hell would come past totally silently and so smoothly that it would leave no wash on the beach, and it would be this American nuclear submarine, matte black, but set against the skyline, and big. I mean, fuck me. And every single one of those contained enough weaponry to wipe out planet Earth. They go up and down and up and down.
I'd actually wagered.
So that's why we went there for holidays. Fuck donkeys. We could watch submarines.
It is quite interesting. There's a little hill.
Glad you framed
in
that
Dunoon,
statement.
Some kind of monument, and it's quite possibly the highest up point, if that is in the town, and the backdrop is the Highlands, the Southern Islands and the like, I'd wager it's the most interesting view in Great Britain, because you're looking atop over the Clyde and these beautiful aquatic machines.
Yeah.
So out of my depth with this conversation.
I think you are out of your depth, actually.
In what way?
I've never even heard of the place.
No, but you know about
About
nuclear
an hour
submarines,
west
because
of
one of the things, I
Glasgow.
mean, Matt, you're a younger man. One of the things that you are liberated from is the fear of nuclear holocaust. Richard and I, and well, actually maybe you two are just about old enough to remember the possibility that a siren would go off and it would mean that you had 4 minutes to live.
Do you know what I clearly remember is, and I would have been a teenager at the time of the Cuban crisis, when it was stalemate between the Americans and the Russians. And I really thought we were going to die. And of course, when you're teenage, you don't think of the fact that you think that life is infinite. But I clearly remember that.
I was watching that drama last night about Canoe Man.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And the woman who plays the wife, Anne Darwin, is an actress, and I definitely knew her from somewhere. And it screwed the whole thing for me, because every time she came on, instead of being sucked into what the writer and the producer and the director had brought together as an exploration of her human eccentricity, I'm going, what's she been in? I couldn't stop doing it. What's she been in?
Yeah.
And we do, don't we? And do you walk down the street sometimes and somebody goes past and you think, I know him,
Yeah.
but I can't exactly
Have you ever had that
remember
experience with
where.
a friend? Just had a kind of a momentary lack of facial recognition or something like that, you know, with someone you know quite well, or relatively well, and you just
Yeah, I think we
get the name or
yeah. Or
There-
somebody,
there is a
what's
name
worse
for that.
still is you'll be walking down, I had it actually come into this pub a few weeks ago, is you'll meet somebody, you know them very well, you even know this was somebody I'd worked with, I couldn't remember his name. So you revert to the, hello, mate, how are you?
Yeah, you do.
Mate, hoping they'd give you a clue.
I said,
so
yeah,
insulting
I know.
that you don't remember.
Well, you can't remember everybody's name. I mean, I've got this bad trick, which is that I say to sometimes to people, if I'm going into a building with them and I might know some people in there, I say to them, if I don't introduce you to somebody, it's because I can't remember their name. So if you just butt in and go, hello, my name's Keith, hopefully they'll go, hello, my name's Dick, and I'll go, oh yeah, it's Dick. All right? Which works quite well. But I physically can't say to somebody, I've forgotten your name. Because once I said it to somebody and they went, oh, that's typical of people like you. Yeah. They did. He went, well, it's typical of people like you, isn't it? It's charming. He said, you know, just so superior. And all I said was, I'm terribly sorry, we have been introduced, but I can't remember your name. It just went, it's typical of people like you. And that's given me a mental block now about doing it. So,
I suppose it depends how long it's been since you last saw them. If it was 15 years ago,
well, what do you
it's quite
do then,
acceptable.
Matt? So do you say, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name,
If
mate?
it was 15 years ago and I vaguely remember them,
What do
yeah,
you do if it was a couple of weeks ago and you were introduced to them somewhere and then you work with them again? What do you do? Say,
If you met them more than once, it's a no-no to say, I'm sorry, I can't
so
remember
what do
your
you
name.
do?
And what I do, if I
Blag
meet a
it
girl-
and then walk away thinking I still don't know their name.
or I'm kind of, you know, on the train and I'm striking up a conversation with someone, business, potentially, or whatever, and they tell me their name initially. I'm really bad with names. I know you're Tommy, and you're Dave, and you're...
Nice. Good work.
But I am really bad with names. Genuinely, it's one of my big failings. So what I do is I just kind of, you know, if they don't give me a clue in the conversation, I just have them tap their name into my phone. How do you spell your name again?
that's
Usually it's Steve, in which case I feel like a very
Yeah.
dyslexic. But
Yeah, that
if
is
it's-
dangerous.
I'm hoping for a Geraldine or a kind of a, you know...
Lord Beaverbrook was at this bash, right, and he was drinking champagne and he got talking to a woman and he thought, oh, fuck, I know your face. I know your face. And so
It was
he
his
got-
wife, was
No,
it?
better than that. So he said to the woman, he said, you know, Lord Beaverbrook, he's big cheese. He goes, how are you? She said, I'm very well. He said, how's the family? Because that's a good fish, isn't it? How's the family?
Yeah.
Right? He goes, how's the family? She goes, very well. She says, my sister's very busy at the moment. So he goes, what exactly is your sister doing now? And there's this long pause, and Princess Margaret goes, well, she's still the Queen. Fucked.
Have you ever met any royalty?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, plenty. Yeah. Why? What do you want to know? I know a story.
I met
tell you-
Pele.
Hey, no. Ooh, ah. I know a story about Princess Diana. I could sell, but won't, because I'm a nice
Okay,
man.
thanks.
Not at
Are
all.
you gonna
And
give
it's
it to
not
us for
do
free,
with
then?
me. What?
you
I'll
gonna
tell
give it
about
to us for free?
No. No, I won't. No, absolutely
Between
not.
the lines.
Put it on the next podcast.
I
This
know.
one goes well.
I don't know which English football manager got a #1 pop star pregnant.
Got to be
Well, there we go.
Ericsson.
That
Why don't
one.
we say our
That
secrets
one.
without actually
I know.
Yeah.
explaining our secrets? So you've given us two.
Yeah. I know which #1 rated television star was at one point the #1 suspect for the Yorkshire Ripper. And at the time, his show was the top rated show on UK TV.
Good heavens. I
Absolutely true.
know a
Yes,
world famous...
definitely true. Definitely true.
Wow.
He was a huge national television personality, and it was genuinely believed by the Yorkshire police he was the man. How about that one? Is that a good one or what?
That's 9.5 out of 10. That's high
fucking
caliber
good, isn't it?
stuff.
That's
Yeah.
fucking good, isn't it?
No, the time has passed now. I don't want to give away my secret.
Oh, come on,
Sorry.
Richard, don't be a party pooper.
This is a world famous scientist of whom you would have heard, who is extremely famous in that field.
Does he speak through a Windows Vista machine? Or no, forget about that. Sorry. It's a tangential joke.
I think that's a Stephen Hawking joke. Windows Vista
is
being
not-
an operating system.
Yes.
Great respect I have for
Well, I'm trying to give you a secret, but it's okay.
Sorry,
No, that's fine.
Richard sulking now.
Scientists did what? Because have you heard this
No,
theory?
I can't know.
No, listen.
I
Listen.
can't,
No, shit.
The moment's passed. The window has closed.
Have you heard the rumour about the Hadron Collider and what it's done to us all? Have you heard the rumour? And it has been written about by not one but two, world-rated physicists, one in Canada and one in Japan, have independently suggested that what happened with the Hadron Collider was they fired it up, which is about 18 months ago now, right? And it ran and ran and ran to the point where it almost discovered the Higgs boson particle, right? And it did. And it was at that very point when it discovered the Higgs boson particle, right, called God's particle, that it shut itself down. And what they've argued is that those who don't want us, or it that doesn't want us, to discover the Higgs boson particle, at the point when we were about to identify it, went, no, and put a stop to it. But not only that, they went back 3 seconds before the discovery was made of what the Higgs boson particle
my
is.
God.
Right? No,
Yeah, I know
no,
where you're going.
No. And simply reorganised every single molecule in the universe so it was exactly as it was in the 3 seconds before the Higgs boson particle was identified. But, although they were able to do it with human beings and animals and plants, right, the reconstituting of certain machinery was less than perfect. Which is why, and this is the case in our house, for a long time, everybody's laptop, mobile phone, television set, car was playing up for a period after, I think it was September the 18th last year, was around about the time when the Higgs boson, the Hadron Collider went.
And what was
That's
playing
the
up in
theory.
your household? It's very interesting you mentioned that.
Everything went wrong at the same time. My wife's BlackBerry started playing up, my BlackBerry started playing up, her laptop had to go in, my laptop was screwed.
That's unbelievable.
The television set, 2 television sets in the house both went ping and stopped working
Quite honestly,
within a
around
period of about 24 hours.
mid-late September, and I don't remember the date. My toaster stopped working.
Oh yeah, toasters. Yep, everything.
My computer screwed up. My VHS recorder, my Betamax. No. Actually, a lot of things did go wrong.
I can confirm that during the month of September, everything worked perfectly fine for me.
I actually
Yes.
noticed.
Quite possibly. But did you?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Oh,
How
yes.
would you know? How do you know that you're not a completely We're totally pissed now. How do you know that you're not a completely...
I'm not half a shandy, so...
How do you know that you're not a completely reconstituted version of the person that you were on September the 17th?
This is just theory, philosophy that no one can ever prove or disprove. It's an idea.
All right,
that
try
could
this
just
one
pluck
then.
out of the,
All right,
of
try-
the air
all right,
and
mate,
make
all right.
it seem feasible.
All
the Higgs
right,
boson only exists for 3 trillionths of a second. So how... I'm sure they're even going to find it.
Well, you're the only person on Earth who knows what it is then.
Well, it's
As far as I know.
Jonathan Ross, there's a new scientist doing shows at the minute. He was on Jonathan Ross.
Oh,
last
right.
Friday
yeah.
night, whatever, and he
I
said it only
saw that
exists for 3
on
trillionths of a
iPlayer,
second. So
Another technological...
Is that where you guys get all your scientific stuff then, from
Yeah.
Jonathan Ross?
Have you ever been stalked, Richard?
Have I ever been what?
Stalked.
Stalked? Yeah, to quite dramatic effect, actually. I was working at a local radio station in the south. Tommy will tell you his story in a minute, I hope. And the guy who ran the station, I'm treading carefully, I didn't want to give away where it was, said, I think you better leave by the back entrance because there's a guy who wants to see you and he's in quite a bad mood. So I said, no, I'll go down and talk to him. What does he want anyway? He said, well, according to him, he's told the receptionist that you've been sending secret coded messages via your programs to his wife and son, and that's why they've left him.
that's crazy.
So I wanted to go down and talk to him. And the guys running the station said, no, really, Richard, I wouldn't do that. And this was a station that was situated so you could go straight out about down a ramp into the car park. So I got in the car and took his advice, drove round, and there's this guy, very smart, clean shaven, smartly dressed, hitting the wall. So much so that there's blood running down the wall. So I think, probably not a time to go out and discuss things with him.
Just run him
Anyway,
over
to
instead.
cut a long story short, that's not the end of it. This guy was obviously not very well. And I heard later, because I had a friend then who was in the police force, that eventually this guy made such a nuisance of himself, because fortunately he didn't know what I looked like. And they started teasing him at the station, that he stormed into reception and he pulled a loaded gun on the receptionist.
Whoa.
So, and it was a gun, and it had
So if you'd have gone to talk to him, you might not be here now.
I don't know. But that is a bit scary. What about you, Mr. Boy?
Yeah, I've had a few stalking things, of course. Nothing as exciting as that. That's quite a story. I've got one now. I'm not going into details, but for it is a she, which is marginally more acceptable than a bloke with a loaded gun.
Yeah.
Who?
Well, that sounds like an exaggeration, but it's. I'm sorry to come across you again, but what was so chilling about it was the police said to me, I wouldn't worry about it, sir, because he'll move on to somebody else in a couple of weeks. You know, this is the nature of people like this. And although he was apprehended for some time, it wasn't a great amount of time. It probably wouldn't have happened, but it is a bit worrying, isn't it? When somebody's got somebody that can actually hurt you. But carry on, go on.
No, I was going to say, there used to be a guy who was commissioning editor for Channel 4 who annoyed me enormously because some years back, a couple of mates and me, we got together looking for ideas for programmes, and we came up with quite a good idea, and he was very dismissive of it and said it would only work if we could get Emma Freud to present it. And we felt that was a bit sad because the content, the actual concept, the programme idea was very strong, and it certainly did not depend on having this excellent presenter Emma Freud doing it. Could have got lots of people to do it. So we started annoying him by sending him in ideas that were absolutely ridiculous. And one was monkey tennis. History of chocolate. So we sent him in this idea. It was called Is He Dead Yet? And the idea was you'd have a panel and a host, And somebody would come up and they'd give clues to this person, like David Niven or Spencer Tracy or somebody, and they'd have to work out who it was, and then they'd have to decide, is he dead yet? Because, you know, sometimes you're watching a film or an old TV programme and you go, oh, look at that bloke in on the buses.
Yeah, is he still alive?
Oh, you Blakey, I'll get you, you know, whatever his name was. And then somebody goes, is he dead yet? That's the bit that gets me, is he dead yet? So we said, here's the idea, right? Blakey, say, off on the buses, lots of clues as to who he is. He was in an episode of One Foot in the Grave, I think. Anyway, and so the idea is, we say, you know, we identify him, somebody on the panel gets him, woo, you know, 3 points to whoever, Claudia Winkleman, and then the panel have to vote on, is he dead yet? And there's some curtains behind the presenter, okay? And after,
so if he's not, he comes.
Yeah. And dead.
I love it.
And they press a button, and underneath them it goes dead or not yet.
Right. Dead or alive?
No, not
dead
yet.
Or not yet.
No, not yet. Right? And
oh my God.
either the curtains would open and there'd be a coffin wheeled out in that same way that they do it at crematoriums, right? Or else he'd come out on a stick. Anyway, the ludicrous thing was, the more ridiculous our ideas got, the more likely this bloke, I'm not going to name, who was commissioning editor for Channel 4, would go, tell me more. So we sent him, are you dead yet?
Yeah, but actually, I think that's a great idea.
Tell me more. So the other idea... So we carried on doing it, right? And I know where this bloke is now, and I still hate him because he's a twat. Right? The last one we sent to him was reverse stalking. Okay, yeah. And the idea was, right, that we get a team of demi-celebrities, and Ulrika Johnson was the one that we used. We took her name in vain because we didn't ask her. The idea was, because obviously she gets loads of stalkers, and the idea was that Ulrika Johnson would have an opportunity to stalk an unsuspecting member of the public with a digital camera. And she would have to get as intimate as possible with probably his, but it could be her, with their lives and film it, right? And if she could, like, get shots with her digital camera of their home, where they lived, what they were doing, you know, film them shopping.
Hi, welcome to Celebrity Stalker.
And obviously, yeah,
I'm really getting into it.
Reverse stalking, and if at some point Dave, who would be a security guard, because we felt security guards were the rights of the people to reverse stalk, I don't know why, turned round and said, Ulrika, why are you following me? She would lose the Volkswagen. And guess what this bloke said? Tell me more. And all we were doing was going down the pub, going down to Groucho's and getting pissed and going, right, what we're going to annoy him.
So presumably if you'd have said the idea is that Emma Floyd will stop,
if we said
it would have been a starter then.
No, but that was Channel 4 as it was. This is going back a good 15 years. Channel 4 used to be quite groundbreaking, and
it did.
And so the nuttier the idea. I'll tell you what it was that really pissed us off. The idea that we had was a reverse on Desert Island Discs. And the idea was that there'd be
you cast away Sue Lawley.
No, that's a good idea.
So
have you heard
every week a different celebrity asks Sue Lawley for a favourite record?
I wish I could tell you a story I've heard about
I love
Sue
the way
Lawley.
they do that. Now, your books, we're going to give you the Bible, and you always feel the person's going to say, I'm not a Christian, I want the Quran.
And the complete works of Shakespeare.
Yeah, I don't want those.
So what else would you like, they say? What would you use the complete works of Shakespeare for on a desert island? Surely to stand
you
up...
could build a hut out of
No,
it.
to stand on and reach a higher coconut. Possibly useful.
Well, as long as you make sure that is that hardback or paperback.
Well, yeah, obviously.
I could really make use of that.
That's the box set. If I had unlimited money, One of the things I would do is buy a racehorse and call it a horse. And then I would buy another racehorse and call it another horse. And then I would stick them all in the same race, so that the commentator would have to go, and they're coming down now to the 2 furlong pole, and it's a horse, followed by another horse, and behind them is another horse. Yet another horse is in 4th place, and that's followed by some other horse. But the other thing I think I'd quite like to do, if I had a lot of money, right, is I would hire all the television celebrity chefs, okay, and I would make them for their money, and I would pay them ludicrous amounts of money. They'd want it, say £2 million each. Gary Rhodes, Ainsley Harriott. Who's the little fat one? Looks like Henry.
Anthony Worrell Thompson.
That's the one. And just make them go to the car park and fight it out. And I would pay a lot of money to watch that.
Yeah,
That'd be a hell of a show.
yeah. I wonder who would win as well. I'm inclined to say Gordon Ramsay, but then I imagine Hester Blumenthal would probably be able to go a few rounds.
Who?
Hester Blumenthal. Probably the kind of guy that would turn up to the fight with the crowbar because no one else had thought of it.
No.
I'd like to see him and Ramsey in a fisticuffs, actually.
The winner would be
Interesting.
so easily Gordon Ramsay, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If it wasn't.
I'm not so sure. I think it might be
No?
Pierre.
Marco Pierre White?
Marco Pierre White, yeah.
There's
Then
one
I
for
think-
Sky
I think
Sports
he-
1, Celebrity Chef Boxing.
That's what we're
Didn't
talking about.
MTV have some kind of
Do you know,
version
isn't that
of
That was
funny?
the
I
animated
had a
one, wasn't
sense that you were talking about.
You picked
I
up
was
quite
not
quick.
pointing personally at the porcelain, I just thought Celebrity Chef Boxing.
Poof.
There's a vibe.
I would watch that. I'm not too bothered about watching women fighting. A lot of men like that, but it doesn't bother me. A lot of men get quite
prefer to watch
about
women caress.
women fighting.
soft caresses.
Shall we do lesbianism another day?
I could do lesbianism every day if you like.
I can't remember the
very
last
big
time
lesbian.
someone suggested to me, should we do lesbianism another day? That's quite a
No.
sudden ring to that, isn't it?
It's a good line in The Office, isn't it, when they have a training session day? I don't know if everybody else has watched The Office too often, but the guy who's training asks the entire team what their fantasy situation would be as far as work goes, but Gareth has been having a wee, and he comes back, and Tim just says to him, we're just asking, what would be your favourite fantasy? And Gareth goes, 2 lesbians, sisters probably, me watching.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful of those scenarios.
Why? What do you know? What do you know?
Well, it's that, it's the mind games thing now with people who train other people. I mean, I think Mark may have you experienced this?
No,
Have
we're
you
talking
been
about
trained?
lesbians. We're not talking about training here. We're talking about lesbians. It's completely
it's
and
what I'm
utterly the
getting
most
at is
beguiling
the
thing that God has given us.
psychiatrists ask you when they're on
No,
£1 million
no,
an hour. No, we're not talking about lesbians. I'm not
We
talking about
fucking are
We
talking
were.
about
No,
lesbians.
I'm talking about how did you get on with your mother?
I'm talking about
How
lesbians.
close were you to your mother?
Lesbians. I don't know why. I just find it
Why, when I say mother, do you say lesbians, Tommy?
because I'm interested in lesbians.
Of course you are.
I know my
How
mother.
close were you to
I
your
don't want to watch my mother doing anything, but I do want to watch
Diana?
lesbians doing anything.
Why? Why is that a
What do you
turn-on?
mean? Why?
And I've always wondered what part of lesbia they come from.
Dear.
Oh dear.
It's not the ones who
This
wear.
is why I've got no friends.
It's not the ones who wear army boots, is it, guys?
No, it's not the dykes.
It's the ones-
lipstick lesbians.
Who look as though they've been sent here
It's
from
fate. It's fate.
heaven.
Yeah.
And you get it. I did a disco in Brighton when I was starting out, and I was a student teacher, and I got hired to do a disco at the Home Guard Club. So I naturally assumed it was going to be a load of old blokes. I brought all my British War movie themes, music. So I had Dam Busters, 633 Squadron. I had the lot, good songs actually. Is Paris Burning is a very good song.
Little
Do you know that
fiddle
one?
in along the way.
No, I
How
had.
is Paris Burning go?
It's Jar, Maurice Jarre's dad. Anyway, thing was,
You sure it's not Maurice Jarre?
it could be.
Yeah.
It could be. But the point is, right? 2 girls came in, that's normal. 5 girls came in, that's normal, because normally the girls get to discos first. 12 girls came in, 15 girls came in. All of a sudden, they're all dancing, and I noticed that there were any men there. And the penny dropped. It took a long time, because I was only 18. It was lesbian disco. And I'm playing the music at a lesbian disco. And the thing was, some of them, and they were dancing together, you know, to the fast stuff. And I thought, what's going to happen when I put on, you know, I'm Not in Love by 10cc, which was the one. Well, I couldn't wait. Normally I left it till about 10:45. I don't know why. But I did. 10:45 I put on I'm Not in Love. And yes, they're falling into each other's arms. These sometimes distractingly, hugely beautiful women. And caressing. Hands on bottoms. And lips on lips. And it was fantastic.
One of the highlights of your life.
Yeah, it was. I went, yeah.
It's what dreams are made of.
Do you still want to talk about my mum?
No, I was trying to go the Freudian route, but of course failed miserably.
Yes.
I'm not sure that your obsession with young lipstick lesbians, as you put it, is a healthy thing. Lesbian philosophers.
And, I mean, who watches Loose Women without imagining them one-on-one in each room?
Who watches Loose Women?
Watch it.
Well, if you have it on, all
Never.
you find yourself doing is imagining them one-on-one.
No.
No?
Why would you have Loose Women when Sky
So
Sports
wrong.
News is only a couple of button presses on the remote away?
You don't have to watch it for any length of time to imagine them one-on-one. It's like the Weather Girls.
That's the Weather Girls.
No, I don't find the Loose Women. Well, actually, 99%
What they
of them.
need
There's
to
only
do-
about 5 of them. They're not attractive.
On these major international networks is have 2 Weather Girls presenting simultaneously.
Yeah.
One doing
Maybe
Ireland,
while
Scotland,
rain
one
falls
doing-
as a prop.
and they're subtle
In a bikini.
gesticulations. They're
If it-
sensuous.
They should have to mime the weather to us. So if it's going to be nice, they have to rub oil into the
Well, that might
back
be
or
taking a
the,
little,
the
you
chest.
can pay for that premium.
If it's
channel.
going to be raining, that someone holds a watering can above and they have to get wet in their
Just
t-shirts.
subtlety, just perhaps the 2 very beautiful women presenting the weather. One stroking Ireland and the rump of the west coast of Scotland, the other one attending lovingly to Kent and the kind of, the English
Lovely
Channel
to
and,
Kent.
The rump.
and occasionally meeting the
I'll
rump
see
of
the
the west of
euphemism in that.
over your neck of the woods in Southampton.
Talk to you next time.